Give a piss about nothing but the time. Flip, Bama, flip.
Give me Alabama to break
When somebody takes what's yours, and this is our game, it's our time. And here's the guy's trying to take it from us. So that makes this shit personal.
Boom, let's make it personal, baby. I'm JT, your host right here, Sunday night Talk'N Bama. As always, guys, we got the boys with me, Herb and Damo. Herb, how we living tonight, brother?
I mean, it's been a perfect night so far. I'm expecting a super smooth show. I am loving life right now, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man, yeah. So we had some technical difficulties to get started. We are here now. We are a little late, but we are here. Damo, how you living tonight, brother?
Man, feeling good, feeling blessed. I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Well, as you guys see with us, we have a special guest tonight. That man, Landon, former offensive lineman from Penn State. How you doing tonight, brother?
Doing well. Appreciate you guys having me on talking a little Alabama football.
Hey, man, we are excited to have you on. We got some Alabama fans in the chat as well. And it's going to be a great night. Everybody hitting roll tides. Like Kat said right there, make sure you hit the like button. Share it to a friend. Also, if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe, guys. We got some great things coming to the channel right now. We're going to kick it off tonight, going straight into it. First and 10 segment. First 10 minutes, we're going to talk about just random sports news. It could be Alabama. It could be whatever you like necessarily. Landon, kick us off tonight. What do you got for the first and 10, brother?
Oh man, I'm not gonna lie. So I've been kind of just secluded away watching a ton of Texas A&M footage from this past year. So the same thing I was doing for Bama last week, where I just spent like 7 days just diving into everything about their 2026 roster. Yeah. I did that for A&M. So yesterday I basically spent maybe like 8 to 10 hours watching every single game of Marcel Reed and kind of the offense. And I already did a lot of that defense. So I'm not going to lie. I've been a little secluded, and it's a slow kind of sports time right now up here in my end of the United States. Wrestling is pretty big. So Penn State's like the greatest wrestling school. That's where I'm from. So we got Big Ten championships going on. So it's a little interesting, but I have been watching a ton of A&M for the most part. So I don't know. I'm curious. That's a team I'm looking at that's in a kind of a interesting situation that, they've been able. Mike Elko has changed what A&M has been, where they've just been dumping money into program and taking these big shots and putting all the money where their mouth is, and it hasn't really worked out. And now it's starting to work out. But it's interesting because Klein, their offensive coordinator, goes back to Kansas State to be the head coach, and instead of saying, "Hey, we just won first time in a while that Texas A&M's winning like that," and it's like, "Oh, okay," you go out and you just upgrade. You lose your quarterback coach and your OC in one guy, and you upgrade an assistant that didn't really have a role. He actually worked with the running backs, and that's your new quarterback coach. And he was a quarterback coach at other stops in Lynch. And then on top of that, you bring in Holloman Wiggins, who is an elite wide receiver coach. Obviously, you guys know him at Alabama, but this is his first time calling plays. So, and you have a Marcel Reed that is uber talented, but I don't really know exactly. Like, there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up with his footwork, his mechanics, ability to read the field. So that's just kind of my thing. Obviously, they are on the schedule this year, so I figured that was kind of relevant to bring up. I think that's going to be one hell of a game.
We played them on homecoming too, right? And did a homecoming game?
It is.
Yeah, they did a homecoming game too. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it is. It is. I can't 100%.
October 24th, I think, at home.
Yeah, I think we played them.
That's my birthday too, and that's Kalen DeBoer's birthday.
Oh,
so, hey, ball game, baby. Gotta get that one right there. I like that. That's Texas A&M is one of those teams like last year that you probably didn't fully see doing what they did, and then kind of dropped the ball right for the SEC championship. Honestly, it was a shoe-in for the SEC championship until the Texas game, and like everything changed literally overnight for that. Herb, first and 10, brother, man. Kick us off the night, dog. What you thinking, brother?
You got to give a shout out to the basketball team, finishing the season strong. Good win over Auburn. You always say whatever you want, final score, like it wasn't as close as the final score. It wasn't as close as the final score. I think we kind of let off the gas a little bit at the end. You get that number 2 seed going into the NCAA tournament. Don't have to play till Friday, which if we know Alabama sports these days, all we know how to do is beat each other up, especially in practice. So good to have as much rest as possible. And just shout out to Nate Oates, man. I think we said this on one of Saban's last teams where it just stuff wasn't great, but they still managed to make the playoffs. Shout out to Nate Oates for taking a team that we honestly had to parts of this season didn't think was the most talented roster And then all of a sudden, still getting the number 2 seed, getting that double bye. I think what was it, number 4 seed in bracketology is what they have us right now. So it's possible to move up to 3 seed. I don't know. With the right draw, we can be good. But Nate Oates has just done some great stuff here at Alabama. I think this year's coaching job was just another one of those. So
definitely.
Boom. I'm back. Sorry, boys. Had a brief technical difficulty real quick. Had a deal. Nate Oates. I was listening to you, Pod in. Nate Oates, that's a great one, bro. Also, talked about in the group chat earlier about our seeding being for the NCAA tournament. I think that could change depending on how this SEC tournament goes, too, which is something I think will be great for Alabama basketball and the longevity right here of things, too, with Nate Oates.
Well, and you look at the way the SEC tournament shakes out, too. Sorry, just real quick. We have a chance to avenge a loss if Texas or Georgia comes up. Then most likely Arkansas, you would think, if Acuff is 100% healthy. Then you're not going to beat Florida, but let's not get killed by Florida. It would be nice to just be competitive. You know what I mean? Be able to stay on the same court for the whole game. That'd be nice. So.
Yep, Damo, what you got for us? 1st and 10. Break it down for us, brother.
So I was gonna go with Daniel Hill with the whole losing weight thing, which I'm very proud of. But I'm gonna take a left turn, man. So I know we've all seen the Nick Saban comments about the whole NIL ordeal, right? And all I'm gonna say is this: I think that people on social media are taking it out of context. That they're making it seem like he's saying the athletes shouldn't get paid. He never said that. He never said they shouldn't get paid. He thinks they should get paid, but there should be some guidelines and some rules with it, which I agree with that, because you also got to think that before NIL was even approved, Nick Saban himself said it really wasn't going to work out how people thought it was going to work out. And whatever he said was going to happen has ended up happening, So again, Nick Saban never said don't pay the players. He just said put some rules and guidelines and stuff to it. And that's literally all he said. That's all.
Yeah.
Exactly what you just said.
Wait, speaking of that, did you guys see the viral tweet from the No 3?
Bro,
Yeah.
Come on, man. Too many people are falling for that one. If you haven't, man. It's
Shady McCoy. I can name other professional athletes that fell for this tweet.
Bro, there's senators. I think there's I've seen senators and stuff retweeting and quote tweeting it and whatnot. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So I think my only issue is this: if you think that Nick Saban is wrong for what he said, I personally feel like you're what's wrong with college football. But other than that, that's it.
Hey, I'm with you. I'm gonna double down on that too, Damo, because that's kind of what I was gonna speak about, but it was gonna be on what Landon said right about the No 3. So when it comes to parody accounts, troll accounts, all that stuff, they are fun to an extent. And what I mean by the extent is it gets to the point where it'll destroy their integrity of the game. So now there are legit people that are going to believe this lie. Okay, no source, nothing. Just got on there, put 2 quotes. And Trent Richardson said X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Everybody believes it. No source, no video, no AI video even. It's literally just a tweet. And everybody ran with it because the parody account looks like on 3. So people see the No 3 and just don't. And it's just that brain thing, the 2 little words flip and it think it's legit. And then you see the check. So my thing is this: we can't let accounts like that destroy the actual integrity of the game. Kind of I feel so old saying this now, but it's it will, man, because you're going to get actual people believing this, and then it's going to what is real, what isn't, what's truth, what isn't. Then when the truth bomb does drop, and then everybody's oh yeah, no, that's not true. That is the wolf cry.
I think there's also certain schools you're just ready to believe bad stuff about anyway, so no one is fact checking certain things. You know what I mean? No one is fact checking Alabama stuff. There's okay, we believe it.
Yeah, they did it.
And you want to know something? Right. I guarantee you, Trent seen that, and I bet you he's gonna address that on the Dynasty at some point.
He definitely will be addressing this.
Because no one questions why would Trent Richardson just randomly come out and say that all of a sudden. Like, what is he out the game? You just all of a sudden, oh, you know what? I'm getting paid. Like, but wait a minute, what? And you've got a podcast that the university is helping you put out. Like, and then
4 days ago, bro,
we don't even do
a whole story. Y'all saw it on Alabama football. They posted a whole story with Trent Richardson about his backstory, what's he doing, think about what he did at the time. Do you think the university would have brought this man back and did a whole backstory on this man if he's out here bashing the What?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, dude. Like, no. So, yeah, we will move on, though. But, Damo, Nick Saban is all for the players getting played for their actual name, image, and likeness. Not just because Joe the barber wants you to come here and he decided to pay you $12 million. Not saying a barber would have that, but I'm just saying, whatever. Or lawyer, whatever happens,
I'm going to say, if the barber got $12 million, I'm not going to that barber. I can't.
$1,500 fades, baby. $1,500 fades. Oh, man. So we're going to dive right into this tonight. Landon, we'll start out with you, man. Each quarterback's strengths versus weaknesses, man. Give us a full breakdown right now. What you like, Austin Mack, Keelan Russell. Today started. Spring practice started today. So today technically started the battle. Tell me what you like or what you saw on film so far. Obviously, there's not a lot of film on both. There's some. But tell me what you like so far and what you see and what you don't, maybe some weaknesses and compare and contrast.
Yeah, it was obviously definitely a little bit more limited for Keelan Russell just because I think he had 16 passes total is what it was. But there was still a decent amount to kind of be able to look through on his game. But, first off, we'll start with Austin Mack because I think, I don't look too much into him being put in at the Rose Bowl. I don't think you want to put a true freshman into that situation against a defense just sending these heater of blitzes that you haven't seen in a while. And it's like, okay. So, and really Austin Mack came in and it felt like he was slinging it around. Like he was taking some chances. He was able to scoot out of the pocket against some of those blitzes that Indiana's defense was bringing. So overall, like I liked his poise. There was even a couple times at the goal line where they went into, they had a bunch. They had, I think, 4 or 5 different route concepts on the field, and he went 1, 2, 3. He got all the way through his reads, and by the time he got to his last one, had some pressure in his face. And it was kind of the bad pass, I think, to Daniel Hill, where it was like a little bit behind him. But Hill was kind of like floating upfield. But the whole point is, like, I've seen a lot of good processing out of Austin Mack, and I think that is pretty important to me. Now, being able to go through his reads, can move, he can sling it. Sometimes I'd like to see a little bit more touch on some of those balls that he's throwing. But like overall, there's a lot to like. And I don't have like overall a ton of huge negatives against Austin Mack. I just look at this and I look at Keelan Russell's tape and it's like, oh my gosh, you can understand why this guy was a unanimous 5-star. Why, a lot of Alabama fans kind of are leaning his route because it's like, look, like, this is a superstar. Like that's just what he is. You see the talent. You see first off the athletic ability. I mean, he can just absolutely move out of the pocket. That guy can scoot, and then the quick trigger that he has when he wants to get rid of the football, like it is so fast. Especially on those RPO pulls where he decides to pull it and throw it out to the bubble screen. It is like half a second by the time he decides to when it's out of his hand. And so I love all of that, and you get the natural playmaking ability. I comped one of his plays. I think it was the one against Eastern Illinois. It was like very Aaron Rodgers-esque, where he like went forward, stopped on a dime, stopped, untucked, like just corked it. And I was like, yo, that was what popped into my head. It was younger Aaron Rodgers. But then, the biggest thing you start to look at, and like I said, not a ton of snaps, is he's just got to get better at reading coverages and just kind of processing what's going on in the field. And I think that's, it's natural for a young guy, especially in the SEC, to not have that right away. But if he's able to take that next step, and I really do think for just about everybody, it is kind of that second year, like that spring ball going into your second year where you really do start to see everything kind of slow down. That's how it was for me and a lot of guys that I talk to. And so I think that's what I'm excited to hear about is how is he looking against Alabama's coverages? Is he handling pressures, like all that type of stuff? Because if he does, I think you're leaning Keelan Russell, and especially because this is a younger Bama team. Like this team can be very, very good this year, but that still doesn't change the fact this is like more of a 2027 team, in my opinion, just because how many guys you're going to return. You're going to return basically everybody, minus maybe a couple guys next year. Like this team is definitely built for the future, but that's part of the reason I lean Keelan Russell, but it's just there's just so much talent oozing out of his tape, and there's not even that much tape that it just gets me excited. And one of the things too I want to point out is like Russell's ability, and once again, this was Eastern Illinois, And who was the other bad team that Bama played last year?
Monroe.
Louisiana.
When he played him Monroe, yeah.
Like, dude, I don't care who it was. There was a couple times he had a linebacker screaming from depth, just 5 yards and just full down, and he just stood in the pocket and just delivered, and it was unfazed by it. So there's a lot for me to like in Russell's game. So that's why I'm leaning his route, his way just a little bit. But I mean, Austin Mack, he's got the veteran ability. He can go through those reads a little bit better. So it's going to be one hell of a battle.
I think it's going to be the best battle of the year. Yeah. I've been saying this. The best quarterback battle is the most exciting, most unique, and also most pure quarterback battle. Josh P8 said that too, so I'll bite off him a little bit when he talked about, like, you know, there's some guys where you're like, yeah, there's a battle. It's a battle, but you really know who the winner is. Like, no, this is a legit, true quarterback battle right here, because either guy can probably lead the team, you know, great, but it's like, it's going to be the little bitty details for national championship. So, yeah. Damo, anything you want to add with this or ask Mr. Lynn, anything like that, man?
I kind of feel like some of the fan base really isn't giving Austin Mack a fair shot, because as soon as Ty Simpson left, you know, it was automatically, you know, it's Keelan Russell time. Now, me personally, I don't really care who starts, just as long as they win us some football games. That's really all I care about. But, you know, like Landon said, man, at UJT, this is actually going to be a more competitive competition than people really think, because, you know, we've seen what Austin Mack can do. And I think that talent-wise, I will really give the edge to Keelan Russell. But as long as, like, knowledge of the system, this will be Austin Mack's, third year in the system. So that's where he has an advantage, you know, over Keelan as well. So it's going to be a great battle. And I said it plenty of times, bro. I'm ready for it, but I'm also ready for it to be over with as well. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Herb?
Yeah, and to kind of piggy off, the specific question is, we've all talked about, like, you're in Alabama, right? You're on the hot seat every year, especially if you're following Saban, right?
Yeah.
Does it make more sense? And this, I don't know how to word this without making it being a leading question, but, like, Austin Mack seems like the safer choice to start this year versus, like, Russell starting this year and taking his lumps, but also kind of being your better future. That makes sense. Do you think that part of it's going to factor in at all, or it's just like, hey, whichever one of them wins it, and that's what we're rolling with?
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm looking at it, I'm kind of thinking, like, there is a piece of me where, he gives you the better chance to maybe win now. But I don't know. I feel like no matter what this season, I think you're going to get to a point where it's like, we got to see Keelan Russell. Like, unless you start Austin Mack and he is balling out the entire time, if Austin Mack's a starter, the second he has a poor game, it is going to be fans. The pressure is going to be immense on Kalen DeBoer.
Yes.
Start playing Keelan Russell. So if I'm looking at that, I'm kind of like, okay, like, it's eventually going to have to happen. And then I think the other piece of this too, I talked about this on my pod, that I do think, because of, like I said, if you are Kalen DeBoer, you can sell the future a little bit. Now you got to be careful, because you have a bad year. There might not be a future for you at Alabama if it's a bad year. But let's just say it's 9-3 again. Let's just say that happens. 9-3 with Austin Mack, I think, is different than 9-3 with Keelan Russell. So I think there's something else to kind of, in my opinion, at least, I just think it's a little bit more to sell to the fan base, to the boosters, everybody. So that's why I'm looking at, like I said, I just think he's going to start eventually, because no matter what, unless Austin Mack is like dang near a Heisman candidate, people are going to be pounding the table for Russell.
Oh, for sure. The first bad practice, and they're going to be calling for Russell. So that'll be like, you know what I'm saying? Did you see the way Matt drinks his water? Like, no, I'll get the next guy in. That's how we are as fan base. So I totally get that. Thank you for the answer.
Definitely would. Herb, we'll go straight into the next one. Herb, here you go, big dog.
All right. So we saw, obviously, with Alabama, the O-line has been a huge thing. PFF has rated us really highly the last 2 years. And then all of a sudden, just not getting the results. So we here collectively decided we like this new strategy of, let's just grab as many people as possible, throw them at the wall, see who sticks, and make it all, because you just can't be worse than what you are, right? Or what you were. So saw your post pretty early on, and about your O-line from left to right, James, Sanders, Delgado, Fields, Carroll. How did you settle on that one already? Like, what have you kind of seen from everybody?
Yeah, so I'd say naturally, this is my starting offensive line off of last year's tape. I guess that'd be the more, fair way to say this, because I did note too that I think there's a couple guys that can very much get involved here. I think Ty Haywood, former Alabama commit at one point, and this is a highly rated guy, only had 15 career snaps. So like, there's no way I'm going to put him at one of the tackle spots just because that's what he did. But like, he very well could come out of nowhere, have a great spring ball, put together a great summer, and have a really nice fall camp. And next thing you know, he's starting at left tackle. Like that's a possibility for sure. But I just wasn't comfortable doing that. I will note though, on his tape, like I said, only 15 reps. He had one pass block snap. And I think it was like a boot action away from him. So I have no clue what his pass set looks like. Gotcha. But there's a lot to like. Like he plays with a good base. His run game looks solid, but just not a lot to go off of. And then I think Jackson Lloyd is another one that you're looking at that, once again, I can't look at his tape from last year and say that I think this guy's beating out Javen James, or I think this guy is going to beat out Michael Carroll, which is a whole nother conversation if you want to talk about Michael Carroll going inside. But I just, really has great movement. He's the frame you want, 6'7", 320, but definitely struggled with some power, especially like taking on bull rushes and being able to kind of sit down on that. And once again, like these are two guys, I just named two freshmen going into their second year that I think, once again, especially for offensive linemen, that's second spring ball going into your second year, like that is a huge time where it does slow down. And it's hard because it's such a physical game. Well, now you've been in a college weight room for well over a year going into year two. So I'm curious to see just kind of how those guys progress along. But yeah, overall, I've said a couple different times, there's a lot of guys I like on this line. Ethan Fields might be my favorite, which I know a lot of fans, it's like kind of crazy because he only has 86 career snaps. It was like 60 snaps last season. But I swear to you, I had like 12 highlight plays out of 60 snaps for Ethan Fields that I was ready to put, like I was making a little highlight reel and I was choosing from 12 plays. That's how good I felt he was. And it's not even just highlight in the sense of he's just like mauling guys out of the way and then just getting beat up on in pass pro. Like he's solid. He's a high IQ player. He really understands double teams. And I think that's something like, for example, who was I watching? I was watching Nick Brooks, 6'7", 350, very similar to kind of that old Alabama offensive lineman. And I think it's kind of different. We're going to the different route of, I think that's kind of happening in college football a little bit too. You're going 330 and under because you're seeing these more athletic defensive lines that are constantly slanting and stunting and blitzing. Right. You got to be able to move. It's not as much just defensive lineman's always going to put two hands in and you got to move them out of the way. You got to react. And I think that's something that I really liked from Ethan Fields' game in the games he did play for Ole Miss, where he was anytime there was something slanting away, he was very comfortable. He was always under control. And that was something I kind of saw the opposite in Nick Brooks' tapes where it's like, hey, this guy's incredibly gifted, huge body, but it's like a little clunky when he moves and it's not super under control. And there's not a great understanding that, hey, if this thing slants away, don't chase it, brace back and let's get vertical on this run. And so that's kind of why I went the way I went with this offensive line. I'm excited Grayson Delgado is someone that has one of the greatest names in college football, but that's someone I cannot wait to hear from in spring ball. Like, how's he handling?
Wonderful name.
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
Wonderful name.
Yeah. So,
and my last one before I kick. Oh, go ahead, Dom. Go ahead. No.
I do want to ask you. So, you did have Sanders in your starting lineup as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Right, so he's going to be missing the entire spring with a back injury. So, you being a former offensive lineman as well, like when you're projected to be a starter, right? But you're missing the entire spring. Like, can that like put you behind mentally? Like, could you kind of get in your head and be like, man, like I'm off track, and there are guys in the room that are further along than me. Like, what can that do as an offensive lineman when you're basically like missing work?
Dude, so much, and especially like let's just say it's Javen James and not Jackson Lloyd at left tackle. Not only are you missing time for yourself, you're missing 15 practices with Javen James and building that bond. And like I got to play, if you know the name Olu Fashanu, he's the first round draft pick for the Jets, and that's why I was a guard and he was a tackle, and he was he was a fantastic player. And like it got to the point like when we first started playing, it was. I wasn't really confident. Like, I didn't know how our double teams were going to go. Sometimes both of us would get off on the linebacker. Like, sometimes when you see a down, like a defensive lineman just free, and it's like, how the heck do you not block the down defensive lineman? It's because the O-line doesn't have a good feel, and they like both got off. And so like those 15 practices, I think, are huge for just building kind of that foundation of trust that I know if this guy slants across my face, my tackle's going to be there. Like I have trust. I know exactly how he handles, stunts in pass pro, where you and I have to work together. We want to try to stay as close as possible and stay, on depth. And so like all of that type of stuff, I think that definitely hurts. And so I think the biggest theme across the board, though, is really just kind of how are these guys going to get developed by Adrian Clem? What type of developer?
Yeah, right.
It's going to be tested early, because I think that's a big thing that we've seen with offensive line play, honestly, recently, is a lot of guys go out, a lot of coaches, and it's like, hey, we're going to get guys that are proven, 4th, 5th year guys that have played a lot of football, and we might, make them a little bit better, but they are what they are. Alabama kind of went the opposite way. They're like, hey, we're going to go get a bunch of talented guys that all might need a little bit of fixing, and we're going to have Adrian Clem do that fixing. So a lot of being put in Adrian Clem too. So that's the O-line, it's outside the quarterback battle. Eyes are on that one for sure.
Agreed.
Definitely.
Adrian Clem is going to be one of the top. We talk about quarterback battle being watched. That's going to be one of the top position coaches this year that'll be watched. Like, hey, what does that O-line do versus last year versus now versus before? So yeah, Herb, what was you about to say?
Well, this last, because it's something in the middle that you guys hit on it, and great question, Damo. That one, something that we had an issue with last year was the fact that we're in like game 10 and still coming up with a starting lineup, for our whole line, and we switched it at the for the Oklahoma game. So I know, obviously, way too early to tell, but do you get more of a feel this year that some of these guys are going to separate and they're going to settle on it, or is it going to be like? Somebody asked for the quarterback battle earlier. Are we going to be in game 5, still kind of shuffling around and not really know, what we're going to do on the offensive line? Because you mentioned the communication is one thing we've all mentioned on this show. It's and the chemistry along your line is key. And when guys are shuffling in and out, I just don't feel like you get that.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah, I had to switch out early in my career. It was like 2 drives and then switch, 2 drives and switch. It messes with just your psyche, your ability to like get a good feel for the defensive lineman across from you of, okay, this is what he does on 3rd downs. This is what he's doing on 1st and 10. And so I think that's hard. Looking at this, I think it's going to be a lot easier not to do that with this offensive line. I feel like it's going to be kind of clear very early on who is going to play. Because I think there's a couple guys that you look at too that I'm just not sure are all the way ready yet. I think Caden Strayhorn being one of those guys coming from Michigan that, is a center guard swing. And, especially maybe with William Sanders out for the spring, maybe that's a good opportunity for him to get a lot better, but really only played in the bowl game against Texas. It was a little bit of a rough watch, if you want me to be honest. There was a lot of power missing, on his pulls. He missed a couple pulls and allowed TFLs in the backfield. So that's someone I'm looking at that's going to, I think, need a little bit more time. But outside of that, I don't know. I think you look at it, and really Jackson Lloyd, I think, can be someone that can be that swing tackle too, though. And as much as you want guys for depth, you want this like even balance where we're not rotating multiple guys in like big time games. It's one thing if we're at the beginning of our schedule, we're playing some easy games and we're rotating these guys. That's fine. You want to create depth. Offensive linemen get injured. It's a physical position. But yeah, you start being in a situation where 8 offensive linemen are playing serious snaps in a game, and I think you're just hurting the chemistry of your offensive line. So if I'm looking at this, I think you want to have a solidified starting 5, and then maybe you have a swing tackle that you would like to get some reps, whether that be Ty Haywood or whether that be Jackson Lloyd, the guy that you really feel like, okay, like they can be a dude. But the other thing I'm looking at too with this offensive line is like your starting 5, you could have all of them back next year very easily. So you could have 2 years of whatever this starting 5 is. Let's solidify that starting 5.
Yeah.
Muted.
That was so muted right then. I don't want to backfeed on that. That was great. I so agree. I was looking up something about the offensive line right there too, about the rotations, like you were saying, Herb, about how basically, and this was a thing because I remember us talking in our group there. We'd be like, "Who's starting today? Oh, we got Andy over here. Or, oh, we have this over here." Or I remember a play last year in the Missouri game. I still remember this play. You just studied a lot of Alabama film. You may have watched this play, Landon. It's about mid-game, and Ty takes a brutal sack, or actually it's about second quarter sometimes. And Formby is just like, I was supposed to block him? Stand here? Like, I was supposed to block him? Like, yeah, you were supposed to block him.
Yeah.
So So there was definitely confusion on that offensive line. Not saying the talent wasn't there or the size or the physicality, but maybe it was a coaching disconnect. So I like how DeBoer, when he answered that question about the O-line, they asked him about the coaching. He said, I felt like we had a bunch of new guys in there and we needed a fresh start. I love that answer. I don't feel like that's like a BS push around answer, where like you just, oh, well, we have a new vision. I just think it's kind of like, hey, this the realness of it. We have a bunch of new guys in here. We just felt it was best to make the move now. And instead of having a bunch of guys that he recruited or things in and, the portal. So that's funny. Y'all want to add anything else to this before we move on? Herb?
Yeah, I would just say real quick, too, I think you need to establish an identity of, like, what do we do in the run game? There's a lot of everything with Alabama. And I think we've seen everywhere. It's like, it sounds good to do everything, but it's like, how about we do a couple things really well? How about we run inside zone or duo and we're able to just mash you in your face? Like, let's get back to that Alabama. So that's one thing that I would like to see for these guys is just kind of get an identity in the run game.
So, Landon, we had Bear Fritwell on last week, and we talked about he's an offensive lineman for Bama, freshman going in this year. And you're a former lineman, so I like to ask this. Same thing here. I'm little. I never played offensive line. I was a skill guy, obviously. I like to look cute and score the touchdowns, point at cheerleaders.
Oh, my goodness.
Not going to lie, that's what I did. But as an O-lineman, it's like you are trying to control chaos, essentially, because the defense is trying to cause chaos, and you have to control it. So in pass rush, you obviously got to sit back and control it. In that run game, what I did not see last year for Alabama, every time we went to block, we were blocking on the line of scrimmage or 2 yards behind the line. The offensive line was blocking. If they weren't getting that initial, like, off the ball, boom, I'm going to put it to you and take you off a yard or two at least off the line. Like, it was either stagnant or they were getting pushed back by the time the running back had the ball. He had to do 2 moves in the backfield to get to the line. So it's one of those things that you talk about identity. At what point as an offensive line, do you be like, hey, my identity is going to be a run game or it's going to be a pass game? But when you can't figure out the run game, where does that fall? Does that fall on the coaching? Does that fall on the offensive lineman at that point? There's gaps there in between that feel. And I think that's where a lot of confusion happens with fans too, because they obviously only see the players. They don't really see the coach. So they're going to blame the players every time. At what point does it become coaching is what I'm getting at for that offensive line to be able to get off the ball? Or is it just, hey, you ain't got the talent to do it?
Yeah.
No, see, I think that's kind of the hard part is you had so much talent on that Alabama offensive line last year.
Right.
It did feel like it was a little bit, and I'll put this on whoever were the leaders in the room and the offensive line coach, that you struggled to have the identity of we're going to go out there and we're going to just punch you in the mouth. Joyless murder ball, if you will. And you were missing that last year on that Alabama offensive line, but you had all the talent. You should have been able to move guys off of the football. And so that's where I think you struggle. And I remember turning on the tape week 1 after I was like, how did Alabama rush for that many yards? Like, what happened? And it was a ton of guys out of control, guys not looking like they were fully confident of who they were combo blocking to. Like, there was so much of it. And it looked like, personally, like I was an outside viewer, but it was like frustrating to watch. I can't tell you how many times in my notes I wrote like WTF. And so I think that's kind of an overall problem of not only having that like identity we talked about of, hey, we run certain things and we're physical, but just like the mindset of like, hey guys, we're going to go out there and dominate. You need someone in the room to stand up and say that and tell the rest of the guys, this is what we're going to do. There's no other option. And it felt like you didn't have that last year. Like I said, I wasn't in the offensive line room. We're not in the locker room, so you can't say for certain. But that was kind of the vibe, just watching them. There was no, hey, we're going to go out and just absolutely destroy these guys.
And a quick one, because you watch a lot of film, and obviously a former player, especially offensive lineman, you can break down some film. At what point does it get, though, where you're like, okay, so he should have been doing this by like, that's the base knowledge of it. But let's say it's a different week, and the offensive line coach is like, hey, I don't want you to do that. I know you normally would do that, but this week you need to be doing whatever it is. So what I'm getting at is some people will say, hey, you can't watch film and grade it because you don't know what his initial weekly assignment could have been. Like, so I saw somebody else talk about this. And I want to ask you, when you go to do film, how do you take that in consideration? Like, was this guy supposed to do this, or was this guy like, or that was just a blump? Like, yeah, you messed up there, bud. Or like the coach was like, hey, don't, we're gonna blitz more on the right this time than the left,
Yeah, so I mean, I think naturally, because I played a lot of offensive line, and at the end of the day, like offensive line is very like everybody kind of runs the same stuff. Like as much as you might have little variations, it's all outside zone, pin pull, inside zone, mid zone. Like you kind of have a good feeling for what something is supposed to look like. So you do, like whenever you don't have full context as someone who watches film, you got to be careful just going in on someone. But at the same time, it's like you can kind of tell if someone is just getting like swiped down or they're just not physical in the run game at all. You can kind of be like, like you can write some notes down of why did that not happen. Now, like you said, they might of, let's say something like the Indiana defensive line, they stunt a ton. So the coaching point for that week may have been, hey, we're not going to like fire off the ball. And so maybe you come off a little bit slower, not as aggressive, and that leads to not getting as much push because you were trying to account for the fact that I got to get ready to react because these guys are moving. So like there is that. But overall, for the most part, I feel like you can kind of tell offensive linemen when they mess up or when it's like a fantastic play.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I was only asking that more or less to like hear what, like your initial, like what's your blueprints to when you go do film, because you could be looking for things and then sometimes not necessarily find them because of what.
I'd say the number one thing I look though is like you kind of try to build themes of anything. When I'm watching an offense, a defense, a player, it's like I try to build out like core themes. And you might have a couple plays here where it's like, oh my gosh, and this doesn't really fit in a theme. But that's how I do like my film breakdowns anyways. When I did the quarterback film breakdown of Keelan Russell and Austin Mack, we did accuracy, we did processing, and we did athleticism. And so like there were plays I just kind of didn't even include because it didn't fit in one of those like themes, but that's how I try to break it down. And I think that's the easiest way to kind of understand a player. If I can get 2 or 3 just overall themes for a player, I think that does a good job of helping everybody kind of understand what he brings to the table.
Yeah.
I like that. Great breakdown there. Good way to look at that. And hey, everybody out there that talks about film study, looking at film, make sure you guys are following this man Landon on all. We'll get his social media at the end. But we do need everybody following him, whether you're a Tide fan, whether you're another fan watching the show right now. Most of you are probably Alabama fans. So, but this man, he breaks down a lot of college ball too. Obviously, I will say I discovered you off of recency bias lately. But hey, you take it where you can get it, baby. And
yes, sir.
As soon as I heard you speak, I was like, this guy knows ball.
Yeah,
it was the first couple lines. I was like, he knows what he's talking about. Like you can just hear it, the confidence in him.
Yeah. Then
I started doing a little bit of research, and I seen you've been doing this obviously a lot longer than I have found you. And then there was some other fans I shared you, and somebody was like, I said something about you being on a burner the past couple weeks, and then this dude was like, he's been on a burner longer than that. Y'all just found him, and I was like, my bad, man, my bad.
You guys are all
I'm on the board now. But
for sure.
Make sure y'all are following him. We're going to pull up into our last topic tonight, guys. Expectations for the Tide heading into 2026. We kind of just spoke 20 minutes on one of the expectations. That's going to be for Alabama this year. Landon, to kick us off, man, what is a expectation you think Alabama has to have for the 2026 season right here going into it? Maybe a couple, however you want to do it.
Okay, a couple of things. I think we obviously talked about the run game. You can't be 129th in the FBS in rushing. So that's obvious. But I think the one that's a little bit more underlying is the protection of the quarterback. And you look at Kalen DeBoer, I went back and looked at the numbers, and you look at his offenses that he's just had under him, really going back to even like 2019 when he was calling plays as an OC for Indiana. And he's had pretty good protection. And then you see this spike for Milroe and Simpson, where it goes up to like over 30% of plays is the quarterback was pressures. I think it was up to 33% for Ty Simpson. Right. And it's like that, if 1/3 of my passing snaps, I'm under pressure, that's kind of a rough rate for me. And so if I'm looking at this, especially if you go with Keelan Russell, I'm looking at him like, hey, I have to protect my quarterback better.
Yes.
I mean, we got an offensive line that, once again, we're talking about it, is, we don't know exactly what we're going to get out of them, and it's makeshift. There's not a lot of reps that are going to be had together, but you're going to have to do a lot better making sure your quarterback's confident, because there was times you felt like if I'm Ty Simpson, I'd be scared back there too. Like there's a couple games where like, yeah, I'd be shaking in my boots a little bit dealing with that. So those are my two big ones. And I think also you look at the stretch that you have of Georgia, Tennessee, Texas A&M, LSU, Vanderbilt. You got one bye in there after the Georgia, Tennessee A&M split. But like those 6 weeks, there's going to be a lot of things you find out about this Bama roster in those 6 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah.
already looking.
I was just about to say.
Toughest stretch in the country, actually. I don't know a team that has a tougher stretch than that one right there, bro. So
brutal.
Yeah.
It is a tough stretch. It is a very tough stretch. Herb, is there anything you want to add to the expectations, or you want to ask a question, or do you want to add in something of yourself?
No, well, it's kind of more. We'll start with a question, and this is also kind of leads into. I think I remember 2 posts that I saw from you first, and that would make me follow. One was the quarterback breakdowns. Oh, okay, it's like I'm on campus, and then the bigger one, which probably got us all in there, having Alabama at number 10 in your preseason rankings. What got you? Because we've seen 20s, and a lot of prognosticators. So we're wondering, what got Alabama at 10? What are you seeing? And last year, my hopes were up a little bit too much on certain things, so maybe kind of ease me in. But do tell me what gets us at number 10.
Yeah, so I mean, I look at this, and like I said, this is an incredibly young roster. So I think the 10 definitely comes a little bit more off of potential than anything else. But I think one big thing I'm looking at is this. I think this DB room could easily say they're the best DB room in the country.
Yes.
So and look, like the depth too. You talked about film breakdowns on my Twitter that I enjoyed making. Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. That was my favorite one. Let me tell you, this is a guy that loves to hit. Like, we're not even talking
baby.
Dude. And then on top of that, like, listen, the tackling is really good. I love Red Morgan's tape. Dude, talk about bringing some thump. I mean, he wants to hit people, and not just hit people with the ball. If you try to block Red Morgan, he wants to obliterate you. So they're fun to watch. Obviously, you got 2 cornerbacks that you trust in that are pretty locked down out there. And I think Bray Hubbard added a couple pounds, right? Added like 3 pounds, I think I saw.
Yeah. And they move him around a lot. He'll come down and play linebacker on the outside. Sometimes he's so big, man. That's
what you're starting to see with a lot of these defenses. They have these safeties that are basically linebackers. And the nice part is sometimes they'll put them in a situation where they're just a touch deeper than the linebackers, and they're not in the blocking scheme for the offensive line, and they just fly in and they can make plays. So, I mean, Bray Hubbard loves to fly around. So I'm also excited to see Xavier Griffin and what he looks like. I was watching his
222, baby.
Yes.
I was watching his huddle tape just to kind of see what he brings to the tape. I'm like, okay, I can't wait to see what I hear out of spring ball about this guy. So, like I said, it's definitely a little bit more of potential. It's also the fact that Kalen DeBoer knows he needs to win. I'd be lying if I want to say initially I might have had him at, I think they were actually like at 11. And if you want me to be honest, I think Oklahoma maybe might have been like at 10. And I really looked at it and I was like, there's a little bit more that I like. Because obviously when I was making my top 10, I don't do all the studying beforehand. I do it during. And that was kind of like, that was my point. I was going to study all the top teams. And I'm like, let me just like put this out there while I'm studying. Like I'll put out all the content, try to see if I can get some traction with some of their fan bases. And I'm like, I want to learn about Bama. I'm like, because this is such an interesting team. I saw basically the entire offensive lineman being new. I saw a quarterback battle. I saw elite secondary. I'm like, okay, like this Alabama deserves a little bit more to be dove into. So I enjoyed it. I feel good about my number 10 rating.
Yeah. And I think what you hit on right there, I think what a lot of us are expecting is that back end. I think they're going to erase a lot of mistakes as the rest of it comes around. So maybe if your offense isn't where you want early on, and the schedule sets up a little bit better than it did, I guess, last year until you get in that brutal stretch and learn. But yeah, no, the DB room is something we're all excited about. And I think that's going to help the rest of the positions. If your D-line isn't where you want it to start, I think they'll still erase a lot of ones. So no, I appreciate that. And thank you for, we appreciate the little bit of hope right there.
Like you said about young team, a lot of potential though. And you spoke about something that we've recently talked about on this channel too. What was it last week? We talked about the DB room being possibly the best team. That was last Sunday's topic. Yeah, we spoke about being possibly the best DB room in the country. Yeah. We talked about Sab and Bray both being possibly top 15 picks, depending on how the season goes. These guys are going to be elite at their position. So a lot of hope here. I like that question. Great one right there, Herb, because right now, Bama fans here ranked in the 20s just sounds a little a little like you just said, Dama, that neck tight, so I call it when you tighten up
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't know about that.
It's that face you make when you take cough medicine. Ain't no cough medicine good. You like, ugh. That's kind of how Bama fans are right now when they see them rankings. They're like, whoa, 24. What? What are we doing there? Everybody's high pitched voice. What? I'm good. I'm good. Herb, that's actually a good video idea. Actually, we're live right now, but that's a good idea.
Oh no.
But yes, that's funny there. Jeff said go Steelers. And y'all was on with Jeff and Cotton a couple nights ago. You was, man. I saw you. I text Cotton. I saw them go live. I clicked on it. I saw you there. I said, dang it, Cotton. I thought I was the first one. Because he said yes to me 2 days ago. I thought I was the first one, but he got on. But it's good to see the love, man. We love Way Off Sides. Jeff and Cotton, they're great people, man.
Oh, they're awesome.
Yeah,
dude, they're amazing.
Awesome. When I saw you on there, I was like, he's going to make his rounds on the Bama podcast in the next week. No,
dude, all you guys have been awesome. You guys have a great just beat coverage, all that type of stuff. You guys do a fantastic job.
So what we do, brother, here, like at the bottom right here, I'll take this banner off. This is how we kind of describe our channel, where it says for the fans, by the fans. We are crazy Bama fans. We do a show each week. We have a show on Friday nights as well with Damo and Hunter. And we just cover Alabama football from a fan perspective. We're not a insider. We're not, nothing like that. We like to have guys on like you, former players, people that do cover more, and then talk about it and deliver stuff for the fans right here. And he said, I watch your show later. Yes. That right there is that's Bentley. Roll Tide Productions right here.
My guy. Yes,
really
sir.
Good guy too, man. There's a lot of great stuff on TikTok. Are you on TikTok, Landon?
Listen, I watch on TikTok. I don't post a lot. I'm gonna get on this soon. This season, that's my goal.
Get up with me. I've got a page over 200,000 followers. I can help you. I'll help you get out, especially if you post Bama content. I can push that out quick for you, brother.
All right, I appreciate you, man.
And just look up Roll Tide Nation. It's the same as here, man. But we'll get you going. So we're gonna Damo. I think Herb, you asked last, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yes, sir.
Damo, expectations for the Tide right now. Did you want to add yours? Did you maybe want to ask Landon something? How'd you want to, round it up right here, brother?
I got a question. So I'm pretty sure you've seen. Now this is actually a serious question. So I'm pretty sure you've seen like all the stuff that Ryan Williams had went through over last season and some of the off season as well. So as we all know, he added something to his name, paying tribute to his mom, and then he changed his number a couple of days ago as well. So how do you feel about that, and what are your expectations for him going into this coming season?
Yeah, so I watch his tape. I picked 2 games to watch of his, and I just picked randomly. I watched a ton of them, but I just picked 2 games to really, really just lock in on him. And there was so much stuff I loved. There was so many clean releases. There was a lot of understanding how to set up the DB at the top of the route. If I have someone sitting in zone, how do I want to set him up? If I'm on an in-breaking route, I'm going to go out in. He was just really smart about all of that. He understood how to stack the DB. There was a go route and it was press man. He was stacking them, getting in front of them, and they were fully behind him. And there was a lot of times where that happened, where it was either a missed deep ball, there was a lot of pressure. There was multiple times I felt in just 2 games where I really watched him, where it was he's open down the field and Ty Simpson is getting sacked, or Ty Simpson is getting buried in the dirt and he's just barely getting the ball out. So I think that was a theme. But yeah, I also, it was perfect. And I'm I haven't really seen the drops yet. And it was the South Carolina game, and it was the 4th down. If you remember the over route on the 4th down where Simpson and it hit him right in the hands and he dropped it. And I'm that sums it up. Had a fantastic game. And that 4th down, he hits you in the hands and you drop it and you're wide open. And it was a great route. He was in man coverage and he ran his guy into another DB. I'm oh, this is great. He did that on purpose. He set him up and then he drops the football. And so I don't know. I'm curious to see how he's going to do. Hopefully, like I said, a little bit better protection. Get him the ball more, get his confidence up early. But the offseason stuff, I think pretty frequently a lot of fans kind of assume that these guys aren't human beings and they don't hear all the BS that's said about them online. And dude, we're normal people like everybody else. Like when we're playing, like everybody's on Instagram, everybody's on Twitter, everybody's looking at what's said. It's natural to like look up what's said about you. Guys do that. And if you think Ryan Williams was getting it just as bad as anybody else, and so that's got to get in there too. So like if I'm him, I'm gonna be honest. I'm turning off the social media this coming season. Like you almost have to do that. And it's hard. Especially a young kid. When was he born? Like 05, 06, something like that.
Yeah.
He grew up.
Yeah,
He's like
he's
18,
young.
right? 19, one of them.
Oh man, he's
now.
really
No.
he's
Yeah,
19.
Yeah.
He ain't 20 yet.
19.
That's crazy. So like he grew up with a phone in his hand. So that's all he's used to. So then it's hard.
Right.
That's all I know is my TikTok, my Instagram. That's what I do. And now I go on there. I'm getting harassed by all these crazy fans. So I think that's difficult. So if like I said, that's my number one piece of advice. I never really had to do it, thankfully, because I was an offensive lineman and it wasn't anything too bad. But if I was a quarterback, I would turn that stuff off. I'm a high level wide receiver. Turn the social media off, man. Just try to lock in.
If anything, I'd have like one of my friends post for me if you need that much. But they can read it, but you don't have to read it. You can just say, hey, post this and this. Somebody that you trust, obviously. Don't give your social media to just somebody. I'm saying that is very trustworthy person in your life. Or turn it off. I want to say, not a huge LeBron guy, but I want to say that like LeBron does stuff like this too. When he
in the playoffs and stuff for sure.
Turns his because because you have a bad game and all of a sudden now you're not the guy. And you know, like Damo said a couple days ago in that video about Ryan Williams, he was touching base on him changing his number and having a good season this coming year. All the fans that hated on him last year and make all the jokes about him dropping balls, stay on that side.
For sure.
Back over here on the Williams Coleman side where he down that thing 75 yards in stride, baby. Don't do it then, okay? Because I still wear my Ryan Williams jersey. I got to get a number 1 because I got a number 2.
Yeah.
And I told everybody the reason he put that Coleman Williams on the jersey, he don't want it to look like Jamison Williams because Jamison Williams was number 1. And if he put Williams on the back, it just, you just don't want it to be, anything. He wants his own, stamp. Just like when Tua and Talia played on the same team. You had T.A. Tagovailoa, T.U. Tagovailoa when they played. So they could,
I got something else too, like on Ryan Williams. This is the other thing that I dislike, bro, about social media now. It's like we get a kid, no matter how you feel about whatever he does, you get a kid with personality that is clearly a good kid. And it's like, that's cool. Cause I'm gonna be honest, I interview a lot of college football players. Like a lot of them are dull, not interesting, no fun to really like, you know what I'm saying? Like in a sense of like an interview. And he's like a great interview, always energetic. And it's like, why do we need to, why do people feel the need to like kill that? Like, let him be him, dude. Let him have fun. Like, let him do his thing. And I think that was definitely, I'm sure that negativity was rough for him. But that's my number one piece of advice, man. Cut it off because it is when you cut off the outside, focus, you always think that it's like, you always think that it's real, but it's not real life, man. Like, it's not real life. So if I'm him, cut it off. I think he's going to have a great season, though. I'm excited to see him get back to early freshman year form. And I will say real quick, just on the last note on him, I will say the last 6 games of both of his seasons really dropped off. So no game over 53 yards in his final 6 games of freshman or sophomore year. That's where Bama's going to need him. They're going to need him November, December, January. Got to have him then.
Experiences. Williams this year, this year Williams is going to be the experienced Williams. You're not going to have the superstar young guy. This is, hey, you're the experienced one. You're the guy that's supposed to lead this room and stand up, be mature. So like you said, turning off social media. Like that probably would be really, really great for him right there.
I agree with that one.
So But hey,
and this group right here, we were a group that said like, look, when you drop the ball, we're going to admit it. Hey, you drop the ball, you can't do that in those situations. But you don't have to go all in, on them like you were saying. And we're fully behind the bounce back. I do think, and you kind of mentioned outside. No, there were some rumblings. There were some outside forces kind of pulling on him last year too, as well, and some other stuff going on. So I think there's just a lot, but we know the talent is there, and fully believe he's going to bounce back for sure.
That question, I think, Hunter, you put a pin on it, okay, and you come back to this question, because you can't really. Obviously, you can do a lot of what ifs. You can do a lot of what ifs.
Right.
And I ain't even going to talk about one of them because I do not do the injury what if on people. I don't do the What if he gets hurt in that? I don't like wishing that on nobody. So obviously that's a pin. That'd be a great question maybe come November and December, depending on how the season went. But yeah, Damo, well, we're about wrapped up there. Did you want to talk about the Penn State offensive line?
Yeah, man. I actually have two questions about Penn State.
Okay.
You know, one being about the offensive line, and we know, well, when I watch Penn State, you know, really all I would really know is like James Franklin. As we know, you guys don't have James Franklin anymore. Just hired a new head coach, right? And had some guys hit the portal and stuff like that. So a lot like what we just talked about with Bama, like who's your starting offensive line, and what are your expectations for Penn State going into, you know, next season? Because no matter what, man, Penn State is still going to be Penn State at the end of the day. So what are your expectations and what are you looking for out of Penn State in this upcoming season?
Yeah, it's interesting. All I really knew was James Franklin at Penn State. I didn't really start watching college football till like 2014 when he took over. So that is all I know. And you're right. And, you know, coming into this year, I think on offense, they got 6 new starters. On defense, they're looking at 5 or 6 new starters. So it is about half of the starters are new guys. So I think it's interesting. Talking about the offensive line specifically, it was when you brought up William Sanders, that he's not playing in spring ball, it was actually really similar to one of our, what we think is going to be one of our star offensive linemen. His name's Anthony Donko, playing some right tackle. And it came out that he is going to miss all the spring ball. It came out like 2 days ago. And it was one of those things where it was very similar to what I said about William Sanders and Javen James. I'm like, hey, the guy that's playing next to Anthony Donka, his name's Cooper Cousins. He was a pretty highly recruited guy on the interior offensive line. And I'm like, hey, I went through every snap. Like they have less than 40 snaps next to each other because they both played some right guard. Donka was playing right guard and right tackle. So I'm like, that's really bad that you're going to miss out on those 15 practices. That sucks there. The rest of it, though, you bring over one of the Iowa State offensive linemen, Trevor Burr at left guard. That's going to be interesting. We got a lot of new Iowa State starters. So, I mean, it's going to be an adjustment. You're making do with the talent that Iowa didn't want and that Iowa State had to take. And that's a lot of your team this year. So that's where I do think there's going to be an adjustment. And I do think I look at Penn State's roster, depth is an issue. Depth is absolutely an issue. And Matt Campbell did not go out and like hit a home run on this recruiting class because it was so late. He got in so late. Right. State was one of the first to fire the coach and one of the last to hire a new one. And listen, we were close to being a laughing stock. I mean, we were the laughing stock when we missed on Kalani Sitake out at BYU. And we're first off, everybody's like, what the hell are we going after? A guy that has never coached east of Utah, and we want him to come out to the East Coast and coach. It's like, what? It's like he's a good coach. And then he dubbed us. He was like, dude, it was like signed, sealed, delivered. He's going to come. Everybody's like, he's here. And the next thing you know, the video comes out of him talking to his team. He's like, I can't do it. I'm here with you guys. And they're all celebrating. It's like, oh my gosh, like we're jokes now. And then Matt Campbell, comes out of nowhere, guy that's had success at Iowa State, but you don't really know what it's going to look like when he has resources. Someone that Josh Pate, you talked about earlier, Josh Pate is very, very high on Matt Campbell. So I'm curious to see how it's going to end up. One other thing about the offensive line, very similar situation to Alabama. You get this guy, Brock Riker, who is a Texas State transfer, All-American, as far as I think The Athletic gave him All-American status. But another guy that's like that undersized center, which a lot of them kind of are now, where they're just about 300 pounds. But, how is he going to adjust to FBS football? So a lot of questions around this team. I would not expect Penn State to be a true contender for the national championship. But like you might see them sneak into the playoffs because they don't play Ohio State, Oregon, or Indiana. Your toughest games are at Michigan, USC at home, and at Washington. Very well, Washington, USC, and Michigan could all be not that good. Like they could go one way or the other. Michigan could be good with Bryce Underwood and Whittingham in year one. It's possible, but probably not. You got to go play Jed Fisher. That's not normally too hard out in Washington, but at Washington is always difficult because that's a tough stadium to play at. But like overall, that's kind of the if you want the narrative on Penn State this year, what's going to happen? It went from okay, they're a mess. Oh, they get Matt Campbell. This is going to be great. Now, let's go get 8 wins. And then people start taking a look at the schedule and say, hold on, you better win 10 games with this schedule, or else you got problems already. So you're going to start hearing that. I guarantee you're going to hear it from the media talking heads.
For sure.
I told you right now, Penn State people are going to say it's a disappointment if Penn State doesn't go 10-2 with the schedule. So I think that's kind of the drop on Penn State right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Put up, Maddox. JT.
I am muted again. I didn't want to interrupt. I try to mute myself now. But no, I think that's a wild situation you look at with you let James Franklin go, you get your new guy in, and honestly, I don't keep up enough outside of the SEC as much as I do with. I know most SEC moves, coaches change and stuff, and I don't keep up as much on the outside. So I like getting that inside info right there from you about Penn State, and then it helps us, get a little bit. And the Big Ten's on a burner right now. SEC fans don't want to admit it. I don't want to admit it, but they are on a burner right now, and you got to give them credit where it's due, or they'll never give us our credit ever, which they still sometimes didn't. But it's okay. It is what it is. That's the college football world. It's you're obsessed about your team, and you're crazy about your team. And that's what in Alabama it's even worse because we don't have pro sports. Yeah. Alabama football, Auburn football, Troy, UAB, and Alabama State, all the other colleges too as well. Like people are crazy about these teams now because that's what we have. That's all we have mostly down here. And it's a big thing. So love it. Landon, do you feel like you're gonna make any games or anything like that, man? Coming up?
Oh man, so I don't really go to games. I love being in my studio. I have like a 3 TV setup. I like to watch the TV. I take like videos on my Twitter. I won't be at any games, but especially if you're a Bama fan, definitely follow me on Twitter because I'll live tweet games. I'm sure I'll do some film breakdowns. I'm still like 50. This isn't the last year where I'm going to be like 50% Penn State, 50% rest of college football. Where I think I'm going to spend Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on all things college football, and the other days will be Penn State. And then 2027, I'm going to be all college football, which probably means a lot more SEC because I will tell you, Big Ten does not allow all 22 film to be used. SEC, ACC, Big 12 do. So just because I'm such a film guy, it's going to make me lean that route. Originally, I was going to be like, I want to be the Big Ten guy, and that kind of swayed me away. So, so I'm excited. So I'm definitely going to be doing a lot more SEC content, and especially Bama.
In a good way. In a good way, when I like saw you, bro, and like when I first was like watching the first little breakdown you did of Alabama, I watched it and I was like, this guy reminds me of a college football, I'm not gonna say like a Josh Piet because I don't want to make you seem like you're somebody else, but I feel like you're on that type of like professional level is what I mean, not like you are him. But that level, there's a level to it, and I feel like you are on that top tier level, man. So
thank you, man.
Not trying to just glaze you and stuff because you're on the show, man. But I do like what you do a lot, man, and it's great for the game of college football as well. So before we get out of here, though, man, I want you to let know people where they can find you at on all your social media, your YouTube, anything you want to get out real quick, man. Let the people know what you got going on, brother.
Yeah, YouTube is the Landon Tengwall Show, and then Twitter is just Landon Tengwall. And like I said, I'll have a ton of film cut-ups. I still have Yanzi Pierre cut up to get out. I still have Caleb Woodson too, I believe. I still have a couple I didn't post because I think I've done like 12 Bama film cut-ups. So if you just go to my video section and scroll down, you'll see all of them. But I'll have more coming out. So like I said, definitely stay tuned. I'm excited for that, and we'll have some Bama videos coming out in the near future too on the YouTube.
Super excited about that. I'm subscribed over to YouTube channel too, man. So we'll be peeking out that as well. We'll keep in contact too, man. And probably want to try to have you back on sometime in the summer for the season starts, and maybe
for sure
get back into King. And hey, you talked about Yanzi Pierre, so I got to talk about this. Herman Damo's heard it a gazillion times from me, but at this time last year, when nobody knew who his name was, I was on this podcast. We didn't have this channel then. This is a whole other story. But I was screaming Yanzi Pierre 6 months before the season even started because he's from a town right above me. And I met him in high school. And I remember at the time I told him, I was like, hey, bro, I'll get you food for free, man, if you just commit to Alabama tomorrow when you go. And it was a joke. It was ha, ha, ha. And he was just like, man, I'm committing either way. He was like, he loved the University of Alabama at the time. So I was like, hey, great. And then looking at it, how things were lining last year, I was like, this is our pass rusher guy. And I called it, man. So I'd love to hear you talk about Yanzi Pierre, man. Agent 0 this year. He'll be number 0. You talked about Red Morgan. He's changing from number 16 to number 6. So we've had some jersey changes. Lonzier Brooks going to go to number 3.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple more too, but Ryan Williams going to number 1. Hey, that's an NIL move, baby.
Ooh.
Waiting for that one, man.
Jersey sales, baby, because now you got to get a new Ryan Williams jersey.
Yeah, can't wait for that one.
You already know. Yeah.
Herb, well, let the people know where they can find you at. What you got going on, brother?
Herb Rod's podcast, really deep into the college basketball stuff right now. So Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central, we'll be on there talk about the SEC basketball tournament, and then of course covering spring practice. And then Saturday night, Herb and Raj After Dark, 8:30. Just bring your own drink, come join us. Talk about whatever's going on that day, and hopefully talk about a couple Alabama basketball wins too as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Dumbo. Let the people know what you got going on, brother. Where they can find you at, big dog.
Yeah, you guys can find me Friday night, the Bama Blueprint, my boys Hunter and Corey Bama. Here Sunday night, Talk'N Bama with Herb and JT, my brothers as well. Landon, it was great having you on with us tonight.
Absolutely, man.
In all, man, you can find me on the best Bama channel that there is, the Roll Tide Nation YouTube channel. You can also find me on TikTok at Domo Reacts. That's DOMO_reacts. Yes,
That's
sir.
another thing I'm thinking about it too, Landon. Get on TikTok. Get up with me, Damo. Hunter's in the chat right now. But between us 3 on TikTok, man, we'll get every Alabama fan that has an account to see whatever you need to see between us, bro, because we are very connected on TikTok. Herb and Raj is making their input on TikTok as well. So I think it's just a all-around great thing too. But I love TikTok because of how it can how fast it can reach people. I'll say that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like it can reach. TikTok can go like that, and sometimes the other ones take a little longer. But it's been a great show tonight, guys. Thank y'all so much. He said, "What's his TikTok? What's your TikTok, Landon? Do you have one?"
Oh, it's Landon Tengwall. I haven't posted on it. I'm going to get going. So it's the same thing as my Twitter. At Landon Tengwall. These guys are going to get me going.
We're going to go follow you after the show. I'm going to go follow. I'm going to find you. I'm going to follow you too, man. We're going to get you right because Hunter's asking right now. Because Hunter's about to go do some TikTok digging now. And these guys are live on TikTok. Hunter and Damo are live on TikTok. Hey, you talked about Dre Kirkpatrick? He's live on there as well. Hunter and Damo will be in his live at times. So there's times where you could probably get on there and talk with him, man. So, all right, guys, we're heading out. Y'all have a great night. And as always, we don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide, baby.